Schönen guten Abend, herzlich willkommen zum ADA Directors Screening von Dear Beautiful Beloved, einem Dokumentarfilm von Juri Rechinsky, der heute Abend noch zu Gast ist. Bevor ich ihn auf die Bühne bitte, noch kurz zur ADA, unserer Organisation für Filmregisseurinnen und Regisseure in Österreich, eine Interessensvertretung. Also es geht um eine politische Interessensvertretung und auch um eine Weiterbildung von Regisseurinnen und Filmschaffenden im weitesten Sinne. Manchmal kommen auch Schauspieler, je nach Workshop, die wir anbieten, monatlich. Und wir werden dann während des Publikumsgesprächs heute auch eine Liste durchgeben. Wenn Sie Interesse haben, über unsere Veranstaltungen mehr zu erfahren, können Sie sich da gerne eintragen. Wir sind hier mit diesen Director Screenings einmal im Monat. Meistens ist es der letzte Montag. In einem Monat, am 28. April, haben wir das nächste Screening von Zwischen uns Gott. Und jetzt freue ich mich, Juri Rechinsky begrüßen zu dürfen für ein kurzes Hallo, bevor wir seinen Film sehen.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for coming for a difficult film on Monday evening. This film was shot in 2022, 2023. The main reason for me to go there was desire to figure out what is happening in a country to which I'm directly connected, because I was not getting enough from the media, and I couldn't ignore what is happening, and I couldn't come back to normal life in Vienna, where I'm living since 12 years. So I realized that I want to participate, and the first months of full-scale invasion, I was trying a lot of different things, and then I still came to this option of participating with the camera. And the main question was, okay, what is war? What is this thing which is happening in my country? And when I was coming to Ukraine, very slowly, very gradually, we were increasing the amount of danger which we can handle as a crew, and increasing the closeness to the actual war. And what was the main impression from war for me was that war is it's a force which is making things move. People move, objects move, ammunition move, vehicles, equipment, everything. So we ended up filming different flows of people from the front line, mostly. Very major flows for everybody who is in Ukraine, because it is for many it is their relatives or their beloved ones or their fathers. And these flows, in one way or another, some things are changing, but in one way or another, these are the flows which are happening in Ukraine every day for more than 3 years already. Have a good screening. Let's talk afterwards.
So, Juri, thanks for coming back. So, when the Ukraine-Russian war started in 2022, and you were raised in the Ukraine and experienced it from here, from living in Austria already, was there like immediately the thought, okay, or an obvious thing to do a documentary about it? Or how did you come up with the idea to do the film then, and when did you start it?
Well, for me, it's Russian-Ukrainian war. I think the aggressor should be the first one. It started in 2014. It's just that it was still possible for a big part of Ukrainian population to ignore it, and I was one of them. And I was already back then moving to Austria. In 2022, it was just becoming so obvious that it was not possible to ignore. And in case, depends where you are, depends how much you are connected. Like for people who have nothing to do with Ukraine, it was not possible to ignore it. For some people, yes, it was not possible to ignore it for a few months, and then they're facing a situation where, okay, they are emotionally involved into something which they cannot change. And like they should get back to their lives. For people like these British volunteers whom we've seen on the screen, they were in a different situation. They were at that point of their lives, or it was in their character. I don't know, to be honest, what exactly brought them to Ukraine, but they came there with within the first months of full-scale invasion, and they helped a lot of people, and they stayed there for almost 3 years. They only came back for the last Christmas, completely burned out. I've met, as I told you, I've met Elizabeth. She was in Vienna for Austrian cinema release, and she changed. She looks 7 years older than when we've met for the first time, which was in summer 2022. What was the case with me was, it was very clear that I cannot ignore what is happening, even if I would like to. And in the beginning, there were no thoughts about making movies about it, because there was a feeling of a failure of this profession to prevent such things from happening. Because like before full-scale invasion, I was doing a documentary about Russian-Ukrainian war, which started in 2014, between 2014 and 2022. And I also had a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues who were making movies about the same subject, about Russian occupation of Crimea, Russian aggression in Donetsk, Lugansk areas. And there was a feeling of a general failure of cinema as a medium which can prevent some things from happening. But maybe our expectations were too high, to be honest. What I was realizing after a month of trying different activities and different ways of participation was that cinema still can share the experience on a level which is not reachable by other forms of media. It's not possible to do it like that with a newspaper. It's not possible to do it with a photo material. Like the movies are also working with time, and this lets you experience some situations almost from the inside. And another thing was that after the first 2 months of full-scale invasion, it was getting clear that there is an overabundance of images. Like it's the most covered war in human history in terms of audio-visual informational material. And still, this material is working in a way which was not satisfying me. I was not happy about it. First 3 months of full-scale invasion, I was waking up, the first thing I was always checking the news. After a month or two, I realized that I catched myself on a feeling that I'm reading the news, I'm reading, okay, 70 people were killed this night because of Russian shelling. And I'm catching myself on a thought and on a feeling that, well, yesterday it was 120, so it's probably not such a bad day. And this is wrong. Like, this is not a good idea to feel yourself like that. And it was one of the reasons why we were focusing on this story about the dead. Like, the question was, what does one death means? How many people does it involve? What does it mean to families? What does it mean to mothers, to children, and so on? And how many people does it take to deliver one body home?
And I guess the whole planning was also very different from other film projects you normally did. So how did you approach this? On one hand, the insecurity of yourself and your crew, and also how did you then find the protagonists? I guess they were also like busy with other things. How did you keep them participating in the movie? And yeah, it's two questions in one, but maybe you can tell us a bit about the process of developing the movie.
I will start with the second question, because what is interesting about working in these circumstances, or just simply being there. I think it's not only about like a work of a filmmaker. I think it's just about participating. Like, doesn't matter if you're filming it or if you are delivering water or if you are driving somebody. Like, what is special, what I found special about these extreme situations of danger, of high stakes, yes, like high stakes, which are usually like human lives. What is special about the situation is that you are establishing relations with people 10 times faster than in a normal life. People either decide to trust you or not. They have everybody has very limited amount of time to decide, are they taking you with them in a car or not? Are they going with you in a car or not? Are they trusting you partly their lives as well or not? And this decision making, I don't even know how it happens. I spoke with Elizabeth recently, and she was telling that for them it was, for example, very important, like how they were making a decision to let me drive with them. One of the big factors was when they paid attention how I'm treating these passengers of them. Like, they were convinced that I'm trustworthy because I was helping these grandmothers in their van, and this was an important point for them. Regarding how to approach the risks and the danger from a filmmaker's perspective, we were. It was very unknown for me. I was never on a war zone before. I was never in a situation of such high stakes before, and I was just making slow steps and taking time to like reflect on them. So, and every next step was a step with which was increasing the danger. In our case, it was like just, it's about your geographical location. How far are you from the front line? So I arrived in Kiev the first thing I did, I was checking all the sites where there was destruction because of the bombs, and I was making my own impression. Okay, yes, you have a street. There is like 100 buildings. One of them is damaged. With this risk, I can live. Like I feel fine in Kiev. Then we were going to the part of Kiev region where there were actual fights, and my grandmother's house in the village was on the village, like on the next street to the point where Russians were coming already. And there I've seen a very different street. Like there was a street where there was not a single, not house, there was not a single wall which stayed. This is a completely different level of risk. And it was my starting point of, okay, like I will go from the Kiev street towards the street in the village of my grandmother. Like I will just gradually go closer and closer to the front line until the point where I will realize that, okay, this is too much. This is a place where I cannot work and I cannot bring my crew in. And then this is what we were doing in the next 3-4 weeks, getting closer to the front line in Donetsk region, from where we were filming and evacuating these elderly people.
So the movie was shot in during 1 year, no? And you had, I think I read it, you had 60 shooting days, so you took your time off, but you stayed all the time in the region?
Well, the main shooting block was quite intense. It was half a year, and it was starting from summer 2022 till end of February 2023. We had 1 month-long break in between, and it was a break when we finished making, as we called it, the story about the living, and we're preparing to film the story about the dead.
And so we see a lot of elderly people being transported from one shelter to another, so that is somehow a line throughout the movie. And also we have this transports of corpses of soldiers. So what captivated you about those two lines? And especially maybe, I have the impression there were a lot of elderly people. Was this a conscious choice, and how did you come up with that idea?
Well, nothing captivated me about it. I wish I would never see it. I wish it would never happen. But these were the major flows of people from the front line. One flow is the flow of civilians. At that point, it was civilians who cannot run by themselves. And another big flow is the flow of corpses of killed Ukrainian soldiers. And these flows, they are happening without a stop every day. Okay, there were some breaks regarding the dynamics of the front line where you don't need to evacuate like new civilians anymore, but especially now in the last like 3, 5, 6 months, it's again happening full speed. Sorry, it was about captivated. What was another part of your question?
No, I think you answered it. Okay. If you already have questions, please just raise your hand, and I'm happy to repeat them. Otherwise, I'll continue.
I remembered.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You're better than me.
Why these 2 storylines? Even 3. There is a scene in the film which is happening in this shelter for elderly people, where there is a phone call, and worker of this shelter is talking about one of the grandmothers to her son that, yes, she is fine, you can pick her up tomorrow. And her son is answering to this lady like, how can I pick her up? I'm close to Donetsk, like I'm on the front line, I'm fighting. For me, all these three stories, it's an abstract family which is experiencing war, with usually men who are on the front line. The younger part of their families escaping the country, and the elderly part are being evacuated because, you know, over the course of weeks, the front line came close enough for them to feel immediate danger.
Maybe you can tell us a bit about the editing process. You were working with Andrea Wagner, and so she wasn't part of the story as you were, being there, shooting there. So what look did she bring into this project? What perspective did she add? What did you find in the material which you maybe didn't see or were not seeing as she was? Well, how was the process of working together also?
She wanted to quit after she received the first bunch of the material about the dead. She watched like first half a minute, turned off the computer and left the editing room, and then had 3 days of thinking if she is ready to work on it, actually. But I'm very glad that she is such a brave woman, and that she decided to get traumatized by what she had to see over a period of 9 months. She made my favorite film, my favorite documentary, which had an incredible impact on me as a filmmaker. It's Megacities by Mikhail Glavogar. She was editing this film, so I was very happy and very glad that she agreed to work with me. This is something I always wanted. And she had an incredible credit of trust from my side. So, yeah, I was sending her material, she was watching it, and then there were a few points when I was coming back to Vienna and she was showing me some scenes which she made. And from the very first scene, I was blown away because I never thought that this is something which will come out of our footage. I think the first scene which is shown was this end of the storyline about the elderly people, this night drive in the train, God knows where. I was like, it was for me middle of their story, because then we were spending with these elderly people another 3 weeks or so in their next destination. But she noticed in this scene something which was generalizing their state, their condition. It's this drive at night in absolute nowhere. Like it was working stronger than the next 3 weeks of my shooting. That was the first stage of work, and then the second was when I was already coming back, when I filmed the majority of footage, and she watched it all, and she made her first tries. It was a stage which actually took something like half a year. It was the question of how to tell the story structurally, how to combine the scenes, and how to balance the whole film in a way that you are not losing your audience before the end credits. Because with our footage, the problem was that it was very easy to overload your senses or to shock you in a way after which you are not watching anymore.
I also really like that you really feel the despair of the people without like even letting them, like hearing them so much talk, and even that woman when she cries and the other one says it doesn't help, and and it felt you could feel how they have to deal with it in a way to not get crazy about it. And there's also an impacting scene when we see the convoy on the street with the dead people, and people on the sides are kneeling down, and it's very emotional. And then you cut, and we see the refugees. So it's like really, I think the editing transports a lot this feeling. Okay, there's always something going on. You don't even have much time to mourn. You cannot permit yourself, I think. So, and I wanted to ask you about this. Kneeling, is this a ritual, a common ritual there to do, or is it a thing which developed in the war that people do?
Yes, it developed in the war. It happens in a small cities, small towns where people know each other more or less. Like it's not happening in big cities where everybody is a stranger. So in our case, it wouldn't happen in Vienna. It wouldn't maybe even not happen in Wiener Neustadt, but like a little bit smaller, where people still know their neighbors. This is something which happens when because relatives are getting notified when the body will be delivered, when it will enter the town, and yeah, usually they are waiting for this car with the body on the edge of the town with police, and then they form this ceremonial process, and people on the street, they stop their activities and they come to the road and they kneel, and they cut to the. I didn't want to have this scene in the film. Like I was fighting about it a lot. It's
Why?
Andrea who convinced me. But I insisted on this cut to the suitcases of people who are running away from it. Why? Because for me, it is a touching ceremony, but it's a ceremony. Like it's like, I don't know, it's not fully true. It's a ritual, but this ritual, the task of this ritual is to express gratitude, to express honor, to express grief towards somebody who gave his life for defending the country. But this ritual will not it's nothing comparable to the loss of a child to the mother of this child. And it was my problem, because I've spent some amount of time with mothers and with wives of the dead soldiers. And for me, it's not an equal exchange by far. These people who are coming with the best intentions and getting on their knees when the procession is leaving, in like 1, 2, 3 minutes they're getting up and coming back to their lives. For the families of the soldiers who are brought back, for their mothers, children, parents, spouses, like life is over or changed dramatically in the most horrible way. So for me, it's a tricky scene, and it's not a fair exchange. And these people with the suitcases, this is what they are running from. They are also running from such a ritual as a price for the life of your beloved one.
Are there any questions from your side? Yes, please.
Why didn't you made a scene out of it? Like the getting up from the kneeling.
Okay, question is why there wasn't being made a scene out of the kneeling and people getting up and the whole thing you just explained.
Well, I'm not a cruel person. Like, why would I do it to my country? Like, this is my point of view. This is how it works for me. I don't want to. I also don't want to hurt them. I think it would be cruel from my side to do something like that. Like,
Yes, please.
I mean, first of all, I think it's really amazing. Was it always the plan to not show fighting and show all the effects and all the impact it has without actually showing, or did you initially think you might include scenes from the front lines, whether you shoot them yourself or not? Or was it always going into this incredible flow of events that are so painful to watch and even more painful to experience, obviously?
So the question was it always planned to not show fighting and follow the flow of events?
well, it's quite difficult to show fighting, I must say. It was never the plan. It was never allowed. It was never possible, to be honest. Like if I would be a single guy with a photo camera, preferably, like it would be way easier for me to go there. But I was responsible for a project and for a crew of people, and some of them were in Ukraine with me, some of them were in Ukraine on a distance from me, dealing with permissions, logistics and security, and some of them were sitting in Vienna, and the conditions under which I was going there was like I need to we need to play it as safe as possible for people involved, and it would be good to survive long enough that you can finish the film. Like that was the task. Plus, like if I would go there now, I would go there with a very different, like I would consider now, I would think about, okay, how can, I would still not shoot actual firefight, because you cannot go there with the crew. Like it just makes no sense. Like it's you can have the same result while sitting in a hotel and playing Russian roulette. Like the process is the same. Like but when we were shooting this film, like every next week, every next month was giving us more information and experience about like what amount of risk can we handle and what amount of risk can we take. And there was a very clear line after which it just becomes senseless to gamble with such high stakes.
Yes, please.
In the beginning, you said you discovered that war is something that affects movement, and I think it very much translated into the movie because it is a very moving piece of work. It also raised questions of ethics for me, and I was wondering, or I'd be curious to hear how how you dealt with questions of ethics, of what to show or what not to show, or whether you had talks with the crew also, and also whether that changed over time as you gathered more footage.
So how were questions of ethics, what to show, what not to show, being handled in this project?
We had we began shooting in March 2022 in Hungary. We had 4 or 5 shooting nights in a border city in Hungary, from Hungarian side, not from Ukrainian. And the idea was to try out, for me, the main thing was, let's try out if it's possible to film in this environment at all, if you're not making things worse. Because I was on the border checkpoints without the camera before, just to meet people, to meet relatives of friends. I spent there enough time, and it was an intense experience to watch it. And when I got a proposal to document something, I said, okay, I just came from another checkpoint. It's intense. I can imagine going there and trying to figure out if it's possible at all to be in this location with the camera and with the film crew. And when you're coming there, the first thing you realize is that you are not the only camera. There are many cameras of news, which behave in many different ways. Hello, Alex. Yeah, we met in Hungary. Yes. Which behave in different ways, but generally they're there. And on the previous stages of this journey, there were also cameras. That was one thing. Another thing was there was quite a discovery or quite a realization that some people, they actually want to approach you when they see the camera and to tell you something, because they are in pain and they are experiencing violence and injustice, and for them it is worse to experience it being completely unnoticed by everyone than to come and expose themselves and to tell their story. And then there are many cases in between. There are people who are initially they're busy with their things, but if you establish a contact, which in our case was usually just by helping. Like it's way easier to start talking after you help the person to find a way to the train station, carry the luggage, I don't know, help with the child, help with translation. Like after that, it's very easy to say who you are, why are you here, and ask for permission if you can follow this person. With another, but it was the beginning. A very contrast point to it was the story about the death. So happened that we just lost a close friend of ours while I was on a research of this story. And I figured out that I'm, from all our circles of friends, I'm the closest one physically, like to his body. And I literally spent the previous evening with the guys who were delivering his body a day before. So the next day I spent in morgue searching for his body in order to like give it to Sasha Bulldozer, who is in the film, this driver of the van 200, so he can be delivered faster to Kiev, where was already at that point his wife and his daughter, which came from Vienna because I was accommodating them here. And it was a very intense and, let's say, memorable event. Traumatic in many ways for me and for the whole crew, not to talk about his wife and child. But it was also very helpful in order to understand where are your borders, like what can you show, what you cannot show, how to show the remains, how to show the body. And for me, the marker was, okay, I don't want the daughter of my friend to come to me in 8 years and to say, like, how dare you to show my father like that? Like at his like weakest, most miserable point, how dared you to show him like that? Like this was our guideline.
Also very well expressed when you, I think, showed that corpus. They put on the jacket again and washed him, shaved him. So it was a beautiful moment of giving back dignity, I think, also in this sense. Like beautiful.
For some people in this scene, last scenes in the morgue, when the bodies are being washed and undressed and made up, for some people it's too close. For me, this is how close I wanted to be. And I wanted to be there that close to show that this is the body of a child. This is the body of, I don't know, 20-year-old boy. And also that this body is treated with tenderness and with respect.
And how was the perception of the movie, also especially for the protagonists, when you showed it to them?
But everything was good. We had our first screening was to people who are evacuating bodies. We had full cinema. It was closed one. We had full cinema. There were like 50 people from volunteers to army officials, and they had comments about 2 shots, which after like a week-long discussion I was removing because like they were convincing. The reasons were clear. One shot was removed because of safety reasons, because it was exposing things which could have been used to establish location and to bomb something. And another was because of, like, there was a shot of of body evacuators moving, like throwing bodies from one car to another because they're in a dangerous location. That there is a time pressure and like there is real danger. They need to free one car, fill up another. Another is going to a safer place, and the first car is going back to the danger. And the problem with this shot for Ukraine was that traumatized people, for them it would be like a red flag. For everybody who lost their beloved one, it would be like a proof that the bodies of their beloved ones are treated like garbage, like sacks with potatoes, which is not true. But it makes this impression. So I was removing both. Have no regrets about it.
Please, at the back.
You said first that this is the most covered war in history, but what we are missing in Western media is the typical war pictures. That gives the impression in the West that this is a very clean war, almost a politician war, and not a war where people die, where people suffer. You see a little bit damage, but you never see explosions or people shooting, whatever. Do you think you found a way to bring to the audience the feeling that this is a real war, not a clean war?
Okay, so the comment, if I may repeat, is about that in the West here through media we get rather clean images of the war, and the question to Juri is if he thinks that he maybe added with some images in his movie this other side, this more realistic one.
I don't know, Alex. I don't think that much about like what I brought or what not. Also, I have damaged perception, like regarding cleanliness or dirt. Like I feel myself very dirty regarding some experiences and visual knowledge. For me, it's enough to see people crying after the screening. Because I realized, okay, I was crying when I was filming meetings of parents with their bodies. This was very painful experience, which is just about like one loss, one family which is experiencing loss. I was crying while shooting it. I was crying while editing it. I was crying while showing it. And it was this is the essence of this experience, of everyday experience of war, because there are many families like that, meeting their beloved ones every day. This is my main problem with this war, that this is happening every day. And if I can share this experience, and if it is touching somebody to the point of tears, I feel that okay, it was worth it.
May I add a comment? I think you found a good way to show that it is not clean, this war, even if you didn't, if it was not your intention.
Thank you.
To repeat it, the comment was that good way has been found to show that it's not a clean war. If there are no other questions, maybe I will do the last one, because you said your initial question was, what is war? Do you think this whole process of shooting, editing, screening the movie, talking about it has brought you closer to an answer?
Well, you can see on the screen 2-3 manifestations of war, but first there are way more, and second they are changing. Some of them are quite static, like the evacuation of bodies. It's not changing that much. Just the scale is changing when there is another attack, or another, like when there are some intense, major, quick shifts on the front line, the flow of bodies is growing. When there are periods of silence, it's getting less, getting reduced. But many other phases of war, they are evolving like crazy. Like what was... but I don't know what to give it as an example. Like the actual warfare in 2020 and 2024, like what is dangerous for people who are on the distance of like 15, 7, 5, 3 kilometers to the front line. What was dangerous back then and what is dangerous now is two completely different things. Like I was doing remote shooting in summer, close to the front line, and we were thinking, okay, we need to get it's called REB. It's like portable device to block radio waves on which drones are working. It was in summer 2024. We're coming back there late autumn 2024, and the warfare is different because these drones, they are not flying anymore. They are not controlled by radio frequencies anymore. They have cables attached, and the battlefield is covered with like internet cables, so they cannot be blocked. It's one example. Another example is mobilization inside like the country, like freedom of movement and difficulties of movement for men inside the country. Like 2022, beginning of 2023, and now like it's two very different worlds. So there are many more phases, and some of them are changing very quickly.
There are no other questions. Thank you very much for this special movie, which for sure we don't get every day. And thank you for coming. Be back if you liked it. In 1 month we have the next screening, Zwischen uns Gott von Rebecca Eise. And if the list is still somewhere in the room, I would be happy to get it back. It's already here, great. So thanks for coming and have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.